Hello everybody! So today I'm going to be talking about how to get rid of fungus gnats. When they're all up in your plants, when you got the little gnats flying around in your bedroom, when you have the fungus gnat larvae in the soil. I'm going to be covering all of that. So stick around to see what you gotta do. So to start off, I want to talk about how this fungus gnat infestation came to be. So I moved back into my parents' house, but about 1 to 2 weeks before I moved back, I actually got some new plant clippings from a friend, so shout out to my friend Ken. And nothing was wrong with those clippings, absolutely nothing. Everything was fine. The one problem was me, and that was just because I didn't have time to find out what setting the plants enjoyed being in before picking up and moving to my parents' house, and that was just bad on my part. So when I moved back to my parents' house, I pretty much plopped all of my plants into our sunroom, which the sunroom is just covered with windows. I think we have like 9 windows in there, so just a room with lots of sun, and most of my plants I knew would be fine in there, but my new plant cuttings did not like it at all, and they all got really crispy. I didn't notice that they were getting crispy until I'd say a week to a week and a half later. And so then to fix that problem, I ended up moving those plant clippings into my bathroom because I thought they would like the higher humidity. And also to compensate with the crispiness, I was watering them a ton, which was not good because with the high humidity in the bathroom and with over watering, that is where the fungus gnats attacked, because that's exactly what they like. If you know anything about fungus gnats, you know that the fungus gnats like to lay their eggs on wet soil, and if you're keeping your soil wet, that is the perfect condition for them. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was setting it up just for them, and they took advantage. I'd say it took me about, I guess, another week to 2 weeks to see that there was a problem with the fungus gnats. Once I moved them up into my bathroom, I started to see little flies flying around, and I was just starting to freak out. So I ended up setting up one of those apple cider vinegar traps, and you know, with like the cup, and you put the saran wrap over and poke holes. Well, that wasn't working for whatever reason, and I've done that before with fruit flies, and I was kind of thinking that these are fruit flies, but after a little bit of research I found out they were actually fungus gnats. So I'm not sure if it works with fungus gnats, but at least for me, that trap did not work. So how I found out they were fungus gnats is by researching on Google what the larva looked like, because the flies themselves were hard to get a good look at, but once I saw them, I was looking in the soil and I saw the larva, and based on what the larva looked like in the soil and the Google pictures, yeah, they're fungus gnats. After doing the apple cider vinegar trap, I also poured some hydrogen peroxide in the soil, and I heard that that is supposed to help kill the larva in the soil, but for me, once again, it didn't do anything that I could see, because even the larvae on the tops of the soil, they would curl up when I poured the hydrogen peroxide on them, but it didn't do anything after that. Like 10 seconds later, they were crawling around again. So the hydrogen peroxide did not work for me. At this point in time, I was also scooping with a spoon the larva off of the top layer of soil, And it's really gross. It was
disgusted. I am revolted. I dedicate my entire life to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and this is the thanks I get.
But that wasn't really working. I mean, it would work to get rid of the top layer, but like if I come back 10 minutes later, there's already a ton of fungus gnat larvae on the top of the soil again. So I was starting to realize that something more needed to be done. So I bought some neem oil, and I'd say 2 days later I had the neem oil. I sprayed the plants with the neem oil, and I was thinking again that it would kind of kill the larva on the spot, just because I thought that's what neem oil would do, just because it's an insecticide. But I guess I just don't know much about it. But yeah, they just shriveled up, and then they started wiggling around in the soil again. So the neem oil didn't kill them on the spot, but I'm sure it helped a bit with not letting the fungus gnat flies want to lay eggs. So maybe that did something. But throughout this whole thing, I was pretty much just making the soil even more wet, and I was kind of coming to the conclusion that I was going to have to repot these plants and just totally get rid of that soil. The one hesitation I had during that whole thing was just having to get the roots of the new cuttings. I was worried about the roots coming out of that soil and having to kind of put them under more stress. They had already been under stress with the move, then stress with moving into the sunroom, getting really crispy, and then stress with the fungus gnats. I was just worried about having to repot them. So I think about 2 days after spraying with neem oil, I ended up repotting 2 of them, but I didn't repot one of them because it was already struggling a lot. Did not repot this guy because I feel like he's already really stressed. I mean, like 3 of his leaves have already fallen off, which I kind of feel like I need to, because after I put those mosquito bits in last night and watered it pretty thoroughly, a ton of those little larvae have come out of the pot. So, I mean, I don't know if that's because the mosquito bits are like pushing them out. I don't know how it all works, but I'm just gonna hope that the mosquito bits are enough. Yeah, so I repotted 2 of them. I'll tell you what I did. So took them outside, and I kind of tilted the pot, took the plant out, tossed all of that soil, got a bowl full of water, put the plant in the bowl of water, wiggled it around, got all of the soil, all of the larvae off of the roots and off of the plant completely. I'm not sure what fungus gnat eggs look like, so I don't know if they're too small to see or what, but I'm not sure if I got all of those eggs off with the water, but I did get all of the larvae off, and that was my main concern. So water, and I got new pots, or I don't know if I used the same pots or what, but I rinsed out the pots and got new soil, planted those plants back in. At this point, I had ordered online mosquito bits and lecca clay balls. I couldn't find them in stores near me, so I ordered them online. I had them at this point, so I repotted them, put this plant back in the soil, new soil, put mosquito bits on the top layer, and also put the lecca clay balls on the top layer. So what the mosquito bits do is when you water the plant, it kind of lets stuff out of the mosquito bits that kill the larvae, And what the lecca clay balls do is help to kind of create a maze, so that when the fungus gnats are going to lay eggs, they have to kind of go through the clay pebbles in order to get to the soil. So I think it's just it helps prevent them from laying eggs. I did that. I also had some fly traps. So at this point, I had one of the longer fly papers hanging in my room. This helped drastically. I got a lot of flies on there. I'm probably going to show you a video, so I'm sorry if you're disgusted, but you just have to see how many I got. And I had one of those, the long ones. I draped it over the pots in the bathroom, so it wasn't hanging on the ceiling, but I ended up putting it on top of the pots, and it wasn't touching any of the leaves, but me doing that was more just because I didn't have those yellow plant sticky sticks. A double-sided paper. You peel the paper off both sides and then you bend it, and this is sticky on the inside and the outside. And you stick it on the stick, you stick it in the plant, and it's good to go. When you water the soil, the flies come off of the soil. So they're coming off the soil out into the air, and I was wanting to hopefully catch the flies flying out with that sticky trap hanging on the pot. So that was what my intentions were with that. After that, I ended up getting my sticky traps sent in, and I put those in my plants. A few days after, I noticed that the plant that I hadn't repotted yet, it was having a ton of larvae, and I just knew I was going to have to repot it. So I ended up repotting that one, and it ended up being fine. So one important thing to know is that fungus gnats travel fast. They multiply fast. The plants that I had in my room ended up getting fungus gnats. The plants that I have downstairs ended up all getting fungus gnats. And it was just crazy. But yeah, I had to end up repotting all of those plants within the past 2 months. And what I learned from this experience is that I overwater my plants. And if there is a spectrum, here's a spectrum: overwatering and underwatering. I lie closer to the overwatering side, and my plants don't seem to really care, but the fungus gnats love it, and that is what impacts the plants. And so now I am on a stricter watering schedule. I'm letting the soil dry out a lot more before watering, and I think I've learned my lesson. So now I'm not seeing any more fungus gnats, but this is about 2.5 months after I've seen the first few. So it took me a good bit. I still have the sticky traps up. I have the sticky trap up in my room. I have one in the bathroom. I have the sticky traps that you put into the plants. I have them all over the house. So, I mean, I'm still just making sure that they're completely gone, but I don't see them in the soil anymore, which is the main thing. They're not flying around buzzing in my face anymore, which is the main thing. And yeah, it was just a lot to deal with. So if I can give you any advice, just and you should be good to go. So thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions in particular, please shoot them my way. I'll love to help you out. And I'm going to be giving you guys a plant update on what my plants are looking like now. they were struggling for a minute, but they're back on good terms now, so I'll give you guys a plant tour later on. But thank you for watching. Bye! So there's a lot of larvae, and they have not really been dying. I'm tired of them. I'm really tired of them. They're grossing me out, and it's just too much for me to handle right now. It's just grossing me out looking at them right now.